Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be talking about some of the cultural differences that I've noticed in the past 6 months that I've been living in Japan. And I'm just gonna be looking at this article that I found that was sent to me that kind of highlights some of the major differences Americans may feel when they come to Japan. And I'm just gonna use that as a kind of a reference, and I'll add things that I think are not mentioned. So let's start off. The first one says unquestioned conformity. I think that is pretty true, because there's a saying that I've been told that it's basically the nail that sticks out gets hammered in. So basically, you know, it's pretty straightforward that if you're standing out and you're more like the individual, then society kind of pressures you to be more like everybody else. And you kind of see that around, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think it's because of that people are more mindful of everybody else. So for example, when you get on an escalator, everybody always stands to one side so that the other side is free for people who are in a hurry. They can go quickly and whatever. And then another thing is it's always clean in the streets, because everybody kind of is mindful of not keeping their streets dirty. So they kind of take the trash with them. They kind of hold the trash until there's a trash can, because there's not very many out in the street. So that's one positive thing, two positive things that comes out of that mentality of, you know, as a society rather than the individual. Number two, obscene prices. That is 100% true, because I went to the grocery store my first couple days here, and when I walked in, I was like, okay, great, let's see what's in season to buy for fruits, right, and vegetables. And when I looked, I saw a watermelon, a small one that you get from Costco. It sold for about $30 US. So that was insane. And then there was a cantaloupe that sold for $25, $20, super expensive. And these are kind of some of the cheap ones, because I've seen some Hokkaido cantaloupes that sell for $150, $200. And the reason I think that they sell them for that expensive, someone kind of explained to me a little, is because in Japan they want their fruits to be perfect looking, you know, no deformities, nothing. They have to be perfect. So in order to get to that point, you have to have a lot of physical labor to take care of all of the fruit while it's growing, be super careful with it. And I think that adds up to the cost. I saw a BuzzFeed video that basically said that they bought a bunch of grapes for about $1,000, and it's freaking insane, because I'm sure they're super good, but at the end of the day, I don't care what the fruit looks like, I don't care what the vegetable looks like, as long as it tastes good, you know? And obviously, not everybody buys them all the time. They're kind of a very special kind of thing. Usually fruits are given as a gift to when someone's getting married, or for their birthday, for any special occasion. So even in Japan, fruits are kind of very special. And that's very different for me, because in California, dude, you stop on the side of the road and you can buy some oranges for $5, and it's a huge bag with 20 of them or something. So I definitely miss that part. 3, everyone is so polite. And that's so true. The most used word in Japan is probably sumimasen, which means sorry or excuse me, you know, whichever. If you go to the store and they help you out, they're super, super kind. I've had great experiences at stores, obviously, in America with customer service. I used to work at Banana Republic, so I try to give good service. But here they take it to another level. They are so kind. They bow for everything. They help you with absolutely everything. You go into a store. Have you been to a Uniqlo? That's a Japanese kind of clothing brand. It's basically like that everywhere. Number 4 is getting jozu. Jozu means to be skillful or to be good at something. So and whenever you speak a little bit of Japanese, for example, I'm terrible at Japanese. I've been here for 6 months, but I still struggle and I'm still trying to learn. But whenever even I use a new word that I learned with my friends or something, they're like, Jozu, they're so surprised, and I appreciate their excitement in me learning and getting a little better. But then at the same time, it's just kind of I know I'm not good, please don't say that. But it's the same the other way around. When I guess, yeah, I do the same thing, because sometimes when they speak English and I'm like, oh man, you're so good. So now that I think about it, I should probably stop doing that too. Number 5. So it says Christmas chicken and Christmas cake. So basically in Japan, they do celebrate Christmas. I wasn't here because I was off traveling, but in Japan, it's a really big thing to kind of eat KFC during Christmas, and it's less of a religious holiday, obviously, because in Japan, most people are not really religious, even less so Christian. So they kind of celebrate it more as a kind of like Valentine's Day for like couples. So the tradition basically is to eat some like KFC, like be with like a significant other, exchange gifts in that sense. As far as the Christmas cake, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure it kind of ties into that, what I just said. Number 6. So this is, they say, nomi hodai, which is basically all you can drink. At the izakayas here, which is the bars, you can get a nomi hodai, which basically, as I said, is all you can drink. You pay about, I don't know, I've been to a place for like an hour, you pay like $10. There's some who pay for like $20, $25 for like 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, so it varies. But basically, it's what it sounds like. You can drink all you want. And I know it sounds like a crazy idea, but the drinks aren't incredibly strong. So it takes like a lot for you to like get kind of like really drunk, unless you're like downing them like a couple every like 5 seconds or something. Like they usually serve like whiskey, sake, beer. I think I would be comfortable saying those are the 3 main ones like everywhere, but there's different varieties of what they serve at depending where you go. So number 7 is drinking in public. That for sure is a thing, because a couple days ago I think it just finished the season for Hanami, which is basically like the sakura, like cherry blossoms that come out. In Japan, you kind of go to the park, go to a riverside, you know, public area where you can kind of see the sakura trees, sakura flowers, and then you kind of make a picnic with your friends, your family, co-workers, you know, whoever, and then you kind of eat, and then you can also drink like alcohol, like beer, sake. So obviously that's all in public, so there's no issue there, which I think is a big difference as well, because in the US, you can't do that. Number 8 is kids who are really young kind of walking to the schools themselves. So one thing you probably already know about Japan is that it's super, super safe. Obviously crime does happen as just like any other place, but that just is far less prevalent here. And because of that, a lot of people are kind of just more open to kind of walking out in public by themselves at night, or just letting their kids walk to school by themselves. And I've definitely seen that when I get up early, you know, around the time when kids, you know, are going to school, or when I get back from school myself and some children are already coming back from school. I see them walking by themselves, like usually like, yeah, like 5 years old or something, super, super young. They usually sometimes walk in groups with like their friends, but I have seen like a couple by themselves, and that's like no issue. Everybody is kind of like, you know, pretty normal. And in the US, I feel like at that age, like it's kind of like, what, you're letting your kid walk to school by themselves? Maybe like if you live right across the street, but in general, I don't think that would happen. So number 9 says getting coughed and sneezed at. And I don't think I've personally like endured this, but I think it just happens to be because like in Japan, they wear like the surgical mask whenever they feel sick. Again, kind of just watching out for the rest of the people. They don't wear it so that they don't get sick. They wear it because if they're sick, they don't want to get anybody else sick. So that's why they wear it. So I think because of that, sometimes obviously you're not gonna cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze if you have that thing on, because there's like, what the hell is the point of it? So, oh shit. So because of that, I feel like some people may think that they're like coughing all over them and stuff, but I don't know, at the end of the day they have that surgical mask, which I think is better than someone coughing and sneezing into like their mouths, you know? So yeah. So number 10 says being overtly stared at. And that is true, but I came here kind of knowing that. So if you come kind of expecting like to be looked at, and it's less so true like in cities like Osaka, Hiroshima, Tokyo, obviously, because they're huge cities that are accustomed to foreigners. But my place that I'm here in Okayama, which is a lot smaller, they might not necessarily be accustomed to seeing foreigners all the time, especially like in the countryside and stuff like that. So you'll get some looks, but it's not like that they're like mad at you or mad dogging you or anything like that. It's more like, oh wow, like, you know, I wonder what they're doing. Like, you know, definitely a lot of people here, my foreign friends, kind of are bothered by that. But me necessarily, I don't really care if they stare at me or not. 11 is the kawaii culture. kawaii is basically, some of you may know, is kind of like that cute, super cute kind of thing. Kawaii culture is huge here. Like the food, I went to Universal Studios in Osaka, and basically all the food there was like themed. Like there was a minion like omelet, and they drew, and then like it looks super cute, but they just love that type of stuff here. So that is super prevalent, and I don't think necessarily you want to be called kawaii, because it's kind of like a mascot, kind of cute little kind of adorable thing. So for example, if I was called kawaii, I would be like, no. So 12, jankenpon, which is basically rock, paper, scissors. And it says that basically that is king and that it solves everything, which is kind of true, because I've been in a couple classes where they kind of like ask a question for the students to answer, and a lot of people here are super shy. I don't think that's necessarily the culture. I feel like everybody's kind of scared to speak out loud, but I think it's even more so here. So everybody kind of like has to like, you know, rock, paper, scissors, or jankenpon to kind of see who's gonna speak. I usually don't end up participating because I just kind of volunteer and I just kind of speak. It's not because like I'm not scared, I just like to get it out of the way so that I can just, I don't know, text in class or something. Don't get me wrong, I still do well in my classes, so you know, no problem there. So 13 is punctuality, and that is so true, because one time I went over to the train station. I was gonna go to visit another city, and I think the train arrived like at, I don't know, like 10:19 or something weird like that. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna run to the bathroom real quick, like probably not gonna be exactly on time. Like I had heard that Japanese punctuality is like super precise, but I was like, I just gotta pee. So I ran over to the bathroom, and then like by the time I got back, it was just barely like 10:20, and by then like the train was like had taken off already. So I was like, what the? 14 is excessive packaging, and oh my gosh, this is so true, because if you go to like Fresta, I'm sorry, there's a market nearby that I go to, Fresta. I'll probably take you guys there one day. Basically, if you buy, like for example, like, you know, a package of cookies, right? So you, in the US, buy a package of cookies, open it up, the cookies are there, right? But here, if you buy a package of cookies, you open it, and then within that big package, every cookie basically is within their own little package. So it's like so much like plastic, so much kind of like wrappings, and it's too much. And the last one, 15, is wet hands. And this is so true, because one of the things that bothers me the most is when I go to the bathroom, anywhere, classroom, anywhere, wash my hands, and there's nothing to dry your hands with sometimes. Like paper towels for sure, I've never seen them. You know, the hand dryers, those are more popular, but even sometimes like you don't have that. So like I'll wash my hands and I'll just kind of be like soaking wet in my hands, and then I'll be like walking out to class, and I'm walking out to the train station, and then I'll just be doing this the whole time. And then kind of like a bonus one is like I went to Subway the other day, and this is probably the biggest culture shock I have faced. Like I am still trying to process this. I went to Subway and I tried to order a footlong, and they were like, what? What is that? I was like, what do you mean that, what is that? This is what Subway is. It's like the 12-inch footlong. I want one. And then I look at the screen, and then I paid attention where they have like the menu, and all the sandwiches there are like the 6-inch. And then I noticed this because in the US usually you have the footlong on there along with the 6-inch sometimes, but and then I noticed the paper they used to wrap the sandwich, and traditionally you don't have like a big large sheet of paper so it's big enough to wrap the 12-inch sandwich, but here no, they had like wrapped basically paper big enough for a 6-inch. And that's when I noticed they don't have foot-long sandwiches in Japan. And I obviously was in line already, I waited, so I ordered the 6-inch, but I was not full at all. Like it was like a tiny thing. Okay, no, it's like 6 inches, and for here I guess it's fine, but it's super tiny. And I was just like, damn, like this sucks. And even now it's still kind of like I just want a foot long. So those are the 15, 16 big kind of cultural differences that I have noticed here in Japan in the 6, almost 7 months that I've been here, and I'll keep an eye out for anything else that I think is interesting to let you guys know. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you subscribe. Please like this video and share it with a friend, family member, whoever. My goal by the end of this year is to get 1,000 subscribers, so if you guys can help me out, I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much.